guys, MTech Guy here. Guys, this is going to be a follow-up video to the last two videos I made working through diagnosing some DSC faults I've been getting intermittently with the E60 M5. This has been a real tricky one to diagnose. If you haven't seen the other two videos, go check them out. So basically, to recap, I've been getting fault warnings coming up on the dash for the DSC, the SMG, the brake assist, tyre pressure monitoring. When I read the fault codes are all relating to each of the associated modules not seeing all four wheel speed sensors. Very intermittent and not too specific, so not very easy to diagnose. It seems to do it frequently though when it's really hot out. Otherwise, I can go 2 or 3 weeks and it won't do it at all, and then when it does fail, it only does it briefly and it comes right straight away, so it has been very tricky to diagnose properly. Now in a previous video I checked the basics like fuses, relays, wiring connections, etc. Tested the wheel speed sensors and nothing obvious was going wrong. And at that stage I was thinking maybe the DSC module was starting to fail, but without something more evident going on, I'm a bit reluctant to start pulling it out of the car for a rebuild or replacement. The other thing is, new ones are expensive and currently on back order from BMW, so none are available. Buying a used one comes with uncertainty, as it could be pretty much half worn out and ready to fail at any stage, almost ready for a rebuild itself. Plus it'll need coding to the vehicle, and then if I got this one rebuilt, that comes with its own risks because it can get damaged in the process, whereas at least the vehicle's still drivable at the moment. So anyhow, the M5 drove fine for 3 weeks since the last video, until we had a hot 32-degree day. Went to leave work, the SMG wouldn't go into gear, came up with an EDC fault warning on the dash. I'm thinking, great, what now? Turned it off and on again, it came right. Okay, cool. Went to pull away across 3 lanes of traffic, and it felt almost like the clutch was disconnected and it had no drive. What was happening was the DSC was cutting power, had a loss of power steering, it felt super heavy, and at this stage I'm like halfway through 3 lanes of traffic with traffic coming up behind me. So with the rolling momentum I managed to steer the car into a side street, and almost instantly it came right again. Okay, cool, so everything's back to normal, so I set off on my way home, stopped at the supermarket to grab some groceries, came out, and when I got back into the M5 all was good, unlike the previous time. And as I get closer to home, I live near the beach, and of course when the sun's out everybody heads to the beach, so I'm essentially now stuck in traffic. Then that's when it faulted again. All the same faults as previous times came up on the dashboard, same as before, intermittent power loss, and with the DSC cutting in and out and causing intermittent power loss, the SMG can't decide to have the clutch in or out because the engine power has been cut in and out. This happened right before the warnings came up, and when it faulted the car was drivable then. So it failed safe and just had all the DSC functions disabled, and everything was running fine. The EDC, the SMG, obviously didn't have any traction control, but the car drove fine all the way home. Okay, so when I got home I scanned for fault codes, half expecting same as before, but it was a bit more interesting this time. I had faults for the SMG, couldn't see all 4 wheel speed sensors, same as before. EDC with both front wheel speed sensors faulting, and then it had a DSC issue with the front left wheel speed sensor and the tone ring. So 2 codes, but that was it. So the DSC codes were much more specific this time, and even with the EDC it had narrowed it down to the front of the car. So after posting my previous videos on this issue, some of my viewers had experienced similar faults with their M5s and advised it was likely down to a bad wheel speed sensor. They had specific wheel speed sensor though. Up until now this wasn't the case with mine, and all 4 speed sensors tested out okay. So I was reluctant to dive in straight away and pull the DSC unit. A week later I left work in hot temperatures again. 2 nights in a row it faulted as soon as I turned the car on. Again, once I'd started heading down the road it would all clear and it was fine all the way home. So I scanned for codes, it was interesting. Had DSC, 2 codes this time, front left wheel speed sensor and just one of the others. EDC, front 2 wheel speed sensors. SMG, all 4 wheel speed sensors. Again, also interestingly, I had codes for the IHKA speed sensor fault also. So the main difference this week and last week with the high temps, there are more specific codes for the front left wheel speed sensor. So Saturday morning that week I was working, car faulted again leaving work in the same way, but came right as soon as I started heading down the road, same as before. It was 31 degrees C outside. On the way home I was stuck in a queue of traffic again. The car started to get jerky, like the clutch was engaging and disengaging. It did it for a couple of minutes, no dash warnings until it completely faulted though. DSC disabled, then it drove smooth again. Now it's 33 degrees C when I got home, scanned for fault codes, same as before. And of course I'm getting that specific fault code for the front left wheel speed sensor. So what I did is I swapped the front left wheel speed sensor for the front right, then sat the car in the sun for a little while, took it for a further drive, straight away faulted again, cleared when heading down the road, same as before, rescanned for fault codes, had SMG all 4 wheel speed sensors, EDC just the front wheel speed sensors, and the DSC code only one for the front right now. So that specific code for the front left wheel speed sensor had now moved to the front right, with the wheel speed sensor being moved to the front right. Awesome. So what I did, I got an OEM ATE sensor ordered locally. Before it arrived, I tested the wheel speed sensor signal with a scan tool. All were reading okay and reading forward and reverse, all good. Once a new wheel speed sensor arrived, got it fitted to the right front to replace the one I'd moved from the front left. Now luckily it was over 30 degrees C that day, which is when it normally faults without fail. So once the wheel speed sensor was replaced, I parked the M5 in the sun for a few hours, so if it was still going to fail it would do it in this heat. And this time round I did manage to capture it with my phone camera. Here's what happened. Alright guys, it's 30 degrees out, so we're going to give this the big test now. It's been sitting out here most of the afternoon. I've got the wheel speed sensor change out this morning. Let's get the windows open. So far so good. 33 degrees. It's going to fail. It's going to do it at 33. Every time I've got to 33 previously, it's failed. Alright, just put the seatbelt on. If that's the only complaint we're going to have from the M5 this afternoon, I'll be very happy. Well, still I've got the dynamic damping control faults on there. Drive away, you'll see what happens. It goes to 7th first, then 2nd. Steering super stiff. Put my foot down. Yeah, it doesn't want to go. No, that's alright. That's right, still not fully resolved the issue, but an improvement with the fault codes in comparison from what I was getting nonetheless. So now it's only coming up with EDC faults on the dash, and when I read the codes it's not happy with the 2 front wheel speed sensors as before for the EDC, but no codes for the DSC, no codes for the SMG anymore, which is strange. So them 2 modules are now happy with the wheel speed sensor signal, but the EDC module isn't. So strange. Alright guys, so it's been about 4.5, almost 5 weeks since I changed out that wheel speed sensor on the M5 now. Although ironically I'm driving the 1 Series this morning. I think the M5's now fixed, I think. So as you saw, got that wheel speed sensor changed out. Just about all the faults cleared, but I did get that EDC fault come up on the dashboard, read the fault codes, and it was showing codes for the 2 front wheel speed sensor signals for the EDC system. So what I did, it was a pretty hot day that day, it's about 33 degrees as you saw. What I did, I cleared all the codes, I packed it up in the sun again, left it for a few minutes, and when I cranked it over, got that same EDC fault up on the dashboard, which did clear again when I drove straight away. Read the codes, got exactly the same codes, just them 2 front wheel speed sensor signal for the EDC. So from there, I didn't reset the codes. I just kept driving it. The car didn't fault since then. I didn't have a fault come up on the dashboard. And what I did, I drove it for about a week. I went to see a good friend of mine, and he connected it to ISTA. And just for my own peace of mind, I just wanted to see if ISTA was bringing up exactly the same codes as my scan tool, which it did do. So although I'd driven the car for a week and it didn't have any faults on the dash, the car operated 100% fine, there was still two codes there for the front wheel speed sensor EDC just in the background there, so it's kind of bugging me that was still there. So we cleared the codes, reset the EDC module, and then I drove the car for another 3 weeks and it drove absolutely flawlessly, no faults whatsoever, nothing came up on the dash. So I was pretty confident that would fix the issue at that point. And then I went and read the fault codes again with my scan tool, and them 2 wheel speed sensors for the EDC fault codes were still, had come back, still there in the background there. So that was kind of bugging me a bit. So I reset the codes, reset the EDC module again, took the car for another short drive, scanned the fault codes, and everything was fine, and everything's been fine since so far. So at this stage, I'm 100% sure I've absolutely fixed the problem, probably. So if them codes do come back, I think what I'll do is I might look at replacing the other wheel speed sensor on the front, just because it's almost 20 years old now. I had so much trouble with that other one that it's not reading as good as it did when it was brand new. I don't know, so I might look at changing that out just for the sake of it. If that fails, then I might even look at trying to pick up a cheap EDC module and just change it out and see if that changes anything, because it certainly seemed to fail the most when it was really hot out. So maybe that was affecting the EDC module, I don't know. It's just at this stage, it's just not obvious what's going on. So it's been a real tricky one to diagnose up to this point, but the car seems happy, so I'm going to call that fixed for now. None of them other faults have returned since I changed that wheel speed sensor out. It was only them 2 front wheel speed sensor faults for the EDC, which hasn't returned since. So thank you very much to all my subscribers who commented on the previous videos, who have had similar issues with their E60 M5s and have been through quite the process getting to the point of changing out the wheel speed sensors themselves. I had to change alternators and batteries and just trying to get to the bottom of it, because it certainly hasn't been an easy one to diagnose. And it's quite interesting how much trouble just a faulty wheel speed sensor was causing, even though the wheel speed sensor tested out fine itself. It was causing all kinds of issues. So it's been a very interesting journey, but I do hope this video helps some of you guys out if you are experiencing something similar with your E60 M5. Now, if you found the video interesting or useful, don't forget to give it a like, and make sure you go and check out the rest of my YouTube channel for more BMW E60 M5 content. Consider subscribing if that's your cup of tea. I'm MTech Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.